Hello everyone, welcome to Lukmaan IAS. Today we are going to have the Hindu newspaper analysis dated 26th of December 2023. In today's newspaper analysis, we are going to cover a mapping topic and then we are going to understand important articles from the newspaper. Today there were articles from Indian Polity section, Environment and Ecology section, International Relations section and also Indian Economy section. There have been topics from multiple areas and these topics are let's say written in a very lucid manner. So we are going to discuss about these topics one by one. So let us first discuss the list of articles that we are going to cover in today's newspaper analysis. So we are going to discuss these articles today, right? So we have written the name of the articles, their relevance with the UPSC syllabus, and also we have mentioned the page number from the Hindu newspaper. So now let us quickly see the first topic, which is a mapping topic. And so this particular topic was mentioned in news today, okay? So name of the topic is places in news, okay? It is Marianka. So this particular place was mentioned in news today. So good morning, Hari Krishna. Thank you so much for joining. So now let us discuss about this Marianka, Marianka, the place. So where is it located? So if we see, right, Marianka is located over here in this map. This is the location of Marianka, okay? So this is a territory of Ukraine. And why this territory is in news? It is because recently Russia has gained control over this territory. Russian armed forces have seized, let's say, taken control of this territory. So that's why it was mentioned in news. So we are going to discuss about that news article also. Basically, Russia and Ukraine war has been going on for more than 1.5 years now. And they are fighting a conventional warfare. Conventional warfare means like they are fighting with one another using the conventional weapons. For example, they are using the machine guns, they are using artilleries and all. None of the side have resorted to using nuclear power because nuclear weapons will destroy the entire region, and the entire world is, let's say, very much cautious, very much suspicious about whether there is a possibility of usage of nuclear weapon. So that's why many other countries, let's say, refrained or restrained themselves from entering into a warfare which is being fought by Russia and Ukraine. Although there have been instances that Ukraine is being supported by many Western countries by providing supplies of the weapons, means like weapons were being supplied, let's say funds were being provided by USA and many European Union countries as well. But the thing is, none of those countries have jumped into this war. And during the warfare, the Ukrainian side have sought membership of North Atlantic Treaty Organization, okay? So they have sought membership of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. And now, since NATO, let's say, has a clause under its Article 15, Article 5. The Article 5 of NATO says that like an attack on any one of us will be considered an attack on all of us and they will together retaliate. It means it is a clause related to collective security. And this collective security doctrine of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization is what makes it, let's say, different from any other security alliance in the world. And North Atlantic Treaty Organization has been established under the Washington Treaty, okay? So as of now, NATO has 31 members and the latest member to join was Finland, right? Finland has already joined it and there is another country, Sweden. Sweden wants to gain control, or let's say it wants to gain membership of North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Ukraine has been in talks with NATO leaders, NATO members to seek membership of NATO, but so far it has not materialized. Apart from this, Ukraine is also seeking membership of European Union, which has also been halted by Poland. Okay, so we are going to discuss about that thing later. But today, there was a place mentioned in news. This is known as Marianka. Okay, this Marianka is a territory of Ukraine, but it has been recently taken control of by armed forces or by the army of Russia. Okay, that's the thing. And apart from this particular place, there are some other regions also that remains in news. What are those regions? So you need to remember names of those regions also. One of the region is known as Mariupol, okay, Mariupol remains in news. Apart from this, you might have heard about Donetsk. This also remains in news. So these are the territories, let's say, of, I would say, Ukraine. But these territories are slowly and gradually being taken control of by Russian forces, okay. So with this, let us now quickly move to see the relative location of Ukraine and Russia, okay. So this is a map. This map showcases Ukraine, it showcases Russia, it showcases the Western countries. Western countries means European Union countries. So this is the location of Ukraine, right? This is the location of Russia, right? They have been shown using different colors. So this Donbas region was also in news, and UPSC has asked a question in the prelims exam where they have asked match the places. I mean, like Donbas, they have mentioned the name of the country, where is it located? So Donbas was there. And Crimea is a location which has been seized. I mean, like it has been taken control of by Russia in 2014. Already it has been taken control of. If we talk about Black Sea, it also remains in news because of Black Sea Grain Initiative. Russia has brought itself outside the Black Sea Grain Initiative long back, right? During the war that was going on between Russia and Ukraine. Means like, this year itself in 2023, Russia has declared that it wants to come out of the Black Sea Grain Initiative. So unilaterally, it has pulled itself out, right? So in the Black Sea Grain Initiative, there was Turkey, there was Russia, there was United States of America, there was, I think, World Bank also part of it. So the thing is, you need to learn about that Black Sea Grain Initiative. You need to learn about what are the member countries. As of now, what I remembered, I have told, but like, check the data also. Now, apart from this, over here, the countries, let's say European Union countries are mentioned. It's not important that we should go back over here, but like why Ukraine is seeking membership of the European Union? Because many European Union countries share border with Ukraine. That's why. If we talk about Slovakia, Hungary, Romania, Poland, right, and Belarus, like that, okay. So this is the thing. And as we discussed earlier, that let's say one of the country which is located here, Finland, has become a member of North Atlantic Treaty Organization, okay. So with this, let us now quickly move to understand the first topic of the day. What is the name of the topic? It is Article 370. We are going to discuss about this topic quickly. Topic number 1. This topic says Article 370 issue closed, but terror victims need closure. Article 370 issue closed, but terror victims need closure. So let's discuss about this topic in detail. Right? So we will discuss about this topic. Now, to understand this particular topic, we need to understand about the background, right, of the Jammu and Kashmir, of the state of Jammu and Kashmir. So what has happened in the state of Jammu and Kashmir long back? So Jammu and Kashmir was a princely state, right? It was earlier a princely state, and since Jammu and Kashmir was a princely state earlier, what has happened in the state of Jammu and Kashmir? It has, let's say, come under attack from the Pakistani side. And soon after it came under attack of Pakistani side, what Maharaja Hari Singh has decided? Maharaja Hari Singh was a ruler. So he was ruling on Jammu and Kashmir at that point of time. He has decided to sign an, let's say, like instrument of accession with India. So that through that instrument of accession, the Jammu and Kashmir has lost its element of sovereignty. And then it was integrated into India. It became part of India. And India has got exclusive rights on 3 important aspects. One is, let's say, like, foreign relations. Second is currency. Third is internal security, right? So these 3 things have been under complete, let's say, like, sovereignty of India. But Jammu and Kashmir was allowed to have its own, right? It was allowed to have its own constitution also. So there was a constituent assembly that has formulated, let's say, the constitution for Jammu and Kashmir. But during the process of framing the constitution, we have inserted Article 370 and we have mentioned it to be a temporary provision. But soon after, the Constituent Assembly has formulated the Constitution of Jammu and Kashmir, right? So after then, the Constituent Assembly ceased to operate, right? It has become functus officio. We will understand the meaning of functus officio also. And then what has happened? Then came the State Legislative Assembly. And soon after the State Legislative Assembly came, so they have been working in the state for a long time. There have been, let's say, a lot of tussle also between the relationship of the central government and the state government of Jammu and Kashmir, right? So there were people started debating about the nature of Article 370, whether it is temporary or it is permanent. And recently the Supreme Court of India has given a judgment related to this. And before this judgment, there was an incident in 2019. What has happened in 2019? In the year of 2019, the, let's say, governor's rule was imposed in Jammu and Kashmir. After that, president's rule was imposed in Jammu and Kashmir. Then Article 370 was abrogated, right? So it was abrogated by the President of India, let's say, under his authority. It was challenged in the Supreme Court of India, and Supreme Court of India has come up with a verdict. And that verdict has already closed the issue related to Article 370, okay? But now the question arises that what happens to the terror victim? So there were terror activities in 1989 to 1990. So today we are going to discuss about that particular aspect, right? So terror related aspect. So before we quickly move into this this thing, let us quickly draw the map of, let's say, of northern portion of India, which is, let's say, state of Jammu and Kashmir. So this is a rough sketch, rough map, I would say, of Jammu and Kashmir. So if we talk about timeline, if we make a short timeline, right? So timeline one means from 1947 till 2019, then timeline 2, 2019 till present. So in 1947, what has happened? 1947, why this becomes important? It becomes important because instrument of accession was signed, accession was signed between Jammu and Kashmir and India. This instrument of accession had three important parameters. One thing is, let's say, foreign relation. So foreign relation of Jammu and Kashmir came completely under the government of India. Then second, currency related matters. It also came under the government of India. Then security related aspects came under the government of India. These are the things. But the Jammu and Kashmir was allowed. The second important provision was that Jammu and Kashmir had its own constitution. It had its own constitution. And during drafting of the constitution, as we discussed, right? So there was a constituent assembly. And this constituent assembly, let's say, ceased to operate soon after the constitution was drafted. So this constituent assembly became functus officio, okay? Functus officio. What do we mean by functus officio? It is a legal word. It means there can be an authority that was entrusted, that was given the authority to take some decision. So it has taken some decision while drafting the constitution of Jammu and Kashmir, and that decision, after it has, let's say, completed its work of drafting the constitution of Jammu and Kashmir, it has ceased to operate. Means it no longer has any further authority to do away with any of the decision that it has earlier taken during its, let's say, functioning. This is the thing. So this was decided by the Supreme Court of India. Supreme Court of India has decided that now Article 370 stands abrogated. Means the President of India had the final authority to declare Article 3 and 370 to be null and void now. Okay, so in 2019, as we discussed in 2019, the central government of India has imposed precedence rule, and they have divided the let's say like a state of Jammu and Kashmir into two union territories. One union territory was known as Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, and second was, let's say, second was Union Territory of Ladakh. Okay, second was Union Territory of Ladakh was established. But now what has happened? Presently, the Supreme Court of India has given a judgment, as we discussed, right? In that judgment, Supreme Court of India has settled the issue related to Article 370. But in this article, the author takes little further dive into this issue. Author takes further little dive into this issue. What author discusses about an important issue of doing justice, right? Justice for terror victims. Okay, so author talks about what? Justice for terror victims. So what kind of justice they want? Basically related to this, in this article they have discussed about two important things. One of the important thing is known as, let's say, creation of a body which is known as Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Okay, it is known as Truth and Reconciliation. Okay, Truth and Reconciliation Commission. So what is this Truth and Reconciliation Commission? Basically, it is not a new idea in India. This idea has already been implemented in many countries in the West also. Okay, so we are going to discuss about the name of the countries that have, let's say, thought of this idea. Now, India is in the process of implementing this, or maybe let's say it is in the discussion mode now. Second, let's say here they have discussed about South Africa, and they have discussed about another country which is also an African country. Okay, I'm going to talk about the name of the country. This is Uganda. Uganda. So let's discuss about the nature of Truth and Reconciliation Commission. We need to understand in detail what do we mean by Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Truth and Reconciliation Commission. So what is this commission? Why this commission is made, right? And why it is being talked about in India? Let's discuss about this. Let us take the case of India first, right? Let us take the case of India. So in India, in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, right, in the year of 1989 to 1990, let's say some terror activity has happened and many people have seen exodus. Huge number of people, like including Kashmiri Pandits, so they were expelled from the state. So during that time, was there any kind of atrocities against the people of other religion? This is one question. Apart from this, were there atrocities, let's say, on the people of Jammu and Kashmir by the armed forces, right? So the thing is, this Truth and Reconciliation Commission in India, what it is going to do, it is going to engage itself in various activities, right? It is going to engage itself into various kind of activities. So what kind of activities? Let us discuss about this. Number one, it is going to discuss, it is going to talk to the victims, right? They are going to talk to the victims to understand about what kind of atrocities, what kind of difficulties they actually faced. So it is going to give first-hand account, right? First-hand account of those people. First-hand account means, like, details from the people who have all actually faced the difficulties at that point of time. And this Truth and Reconciliation Commission, it is going to be set up, right? It is going to be set up by the state. Here the state means we talk about the Indian government, okay, by the central government of India. Third thing, this body will be set up for a definite period, okay. So it will have a limited tenure. This body will have a limited tenure, and during this tenure it is going to go and engage with the stakeholders. And the thing is, here in this article they have talked about that this body should be given a defined thing, like defined terms of reference. There should be defined terms of reference. Defined terms of reference means this body should, let's say, look into the specific things that are being told to this body. So these are some of the things. Now what this Truth and Reconciliation Commission is going to do, it is going to meet with the families of the victims, right, whose family member have passed away, who have seen some kind of, let's say, terror activity on them, either by non-state actors or by state actors that may include the armed forces also, as discussed in this article. All right, so this is the thing. And if we talk about some other countries, right, some other countries, for example, here we have talked about Uganda. So what Uganda has done, right, in Uganda, they have set up a commission of inquiry into disappearances of people of Uganda. Okay, Uganda, they have set up commission of inquiry, right, commission of inquiry into the disappearance of commission of inquiry into the disappearance of people of Uganda, of people of Uganda 1974. Means from Uganda, huge number of people disappeared. Generally those people who criticized the government, who had dissenting voices against the government. So later on they have set up a commission of inquiry into the disappearance of people to understand why these people disappeared, who led to the disappearance of these people, okay, who led to the disappearance of these people. These things were being, let's say, were being looked into by this commission of inquiry in the case of Uganda, okay. And they have come, this was, let's say, it was said to be world's first to investigate occurred during the earlier regime, means like it was world's first such commission. So good morning, Vaibhav, thank you so much for joining. Basically, let's say, today the session got little delayed. It is because of some factors. I mean, like the institute, one of the, let's say, room where I get access to it was locked in the morning, so I was just waiting outside. So that's why I could not start this session earlier, okay. So this is the thing. Now second thing is, let's say, here in this article they have talked about a particular person. Name of the person is Priscilla B. Heiner, and she is an expert, right. She has expertise on truth commission and transitional justice, okay. I'm going to talk about this name of this author, right, name of this person. It is Prisc Priscilla B. Heiner. She is a person who has experience into working of experience of working with the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. She has written a book, okay. What she has done, she has written a book. I'm going to write down the name of this book. It is very important, right. It is Unspeakable Truth, okay. Name of the book is Unspeakable, okay, Unspeakable Truths, okay, Unspeakable Truths, Transitional Justice and the Challenge of Truth Commission. Transitional Justice and Challenge of Truth Commission. So basically in her book, right, this author Priscilla B. Heiner has written about 5 important aspects of these commissions. Which commission? Truth and Reconciliation Commission. One of the first aspect is they focus on the past rather than ongoing events. This commission these commissions focus on the past rather than ongoing events. Second important thing that these commissions do is a truth commission investigates a pattern of events that took place over a period of time. Third, it engages directly and broadly with the affected population, gathering information on their experiences. And fourth, a truth commission is a temporary body with the aim of concluding with a final report. And fifth, a truth commission is officially authorized or empowered by the state. Okay, so this author, which is her name is Pashila B. Heiner, in her book she has mentioned about nature of a truth commission. She talked about that it is a commission which is set up by the state. It looks into the past events, it looks into the history of past events, it interacts with the people who were affected, right? And it does not look into the present event. And the thing is like this particular body, let's say, directly engages with the affected population, and what it does is, let's say, it is a temporary body which is set up with the aim of concluding with a final report. So it is expected that these kind of truth commission will come up with a final report on the let's say, like, on the kind of atrocities that people might have faced. So this is the thing. So basically through this article, author wants to highlight about let's say some remarks that were made by one of the Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul. So he is a justice of the Supreme Court of India. So during the hearing related to Article 370 judgment, he has talked about that, like, the government may think of constituting a truth commission to look into the aspects of atrocities that has happened in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. The atrocities that were conducted by the non-state actors as well as state actors. Okay, so this is what the author is saying. So finally, author, let's say, concludes by saying that the top court's recommendation of a truth and reconciliation commission to help the victims of the insurgency that crippled the Kashmir Valley must not go unheeded. Okay, so author says that, like, whatever recommendation was given by the judges of the Supreme Court of India in case of Article 370 verdict, those recommendations should not go unheeded. Means the author says that, like, government of India should focus on formulating a truth and reconciliation commission. Apart from this, in this article, basically they have talked about that, like what activity does a truth and reconciliation commission does actually. So like it has talked about, let's say, a truth and reconciliation commission can go for restitution, compensation, rehabilitation, satisfaction, and guarantees of non-repetition. So it can have one or all of these aspects, right? It can have restitution, compensation, rehabilitation, satisfaction, and guarantees of non-repetition. Okay, so this is being recognized by the United Nations also. Okay, so victims of rights violation still reserve the right to repatriation, which may take all or any of the 5 forms. Okay, those people who have seen mass exodus, they still have, let's say, like, rights for repatriation. So they may have one or all of these 5 forms that has been mentioned by the Supreme Court of, by the United Nations earlier. Now let us move to another article. This is again a very important article. So global goal on adaptation and the road from Dubai. So this is an article that has been written on environment and ecology related aspects. So we are going to look into this article. Let us first write the title of this article. Title, it says Global Goal on Adaptation. Global Goal on Adaptation and the road from Dubai. Global Goal on Adaptation and the road from Dubai. Now, before we move into to understand this article, let us quickly understand about the nature of this topic. Okay, relevance of this topic. The topic that we are going to discuss, this particular topic is related to environment and ecology. Okay, it is related to environment and ecology. So through this topic, you are going to understand about some concepts of environment and ecology. You will understand some of the facts related to it, which can be helpful for you in the prelims exam and also in the mains exam. Okay. So let us discuss about this particular aspect. What is global goal on adaptation? Okay. So let us discuss about global goal on adaptation. So what is this global goal on adaptation that the author has talked about in the beginning of the article itself? Okay, global goal on adaptation. In short, it is known as GGA, global goal on adaptation. Let's discuss about this. So basically, many of you must have heard about this Paris Agreement. Okay, all of you must have heard about Paris Agreement, right? Paris Agreement. So why Paris Agreement was signed, right? Paris Agreement was, let's say, agreed upon by the member parties in 2015. So in 2015, there was a conference of parties. Okay, there was a conference of parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Okay, in short, it is known as UNFCCC. So there was conference of party in UNFCCC has happened, and in that Paris Agreement, let's say, countries have talked about various important things. One of the important thing is, let's say, one of the global important thing is global goal on adaptation, right? So one of the outcome of the Paris Agreement was global goal on adaptation. So what is this global goal on adaptation? Basically, global goal on adaptation talks about various important things that in global warming is already happening. Why it is happening? Because of release of greenhouse gases. What are greenhouse gases? Greenhouse gases are carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, methane, and other such gases which once released into the atmosphere, they have the capacity, they have the ability of trapping the heat waves. When they trap the heat waves and these gases, when they are suspended in the atmosphere, so they, let's say, cause the global warming. They cause global warming, and since global warming happens, it leads to melting of the ice, it leads to melting of the glaciers. And since glaciers melt, their water, let's say, gets added to the ocean, and it leads to sea level rise. And if sea level rise happens, what's going to happen? All the island countries, all the island nations that are there, these island nations will be on the verge of getting submerged. So they are on an existential crisis, existential threats. So the thing is, the Paris Agreement has signed the global goal on adaptation. As part of the global goal on adaptation, there were few important things. Number one, they wanted to have a tap on global warming. Okay, they want to have a tap on global warming. And how do we adapt to global warming? How do we reduce global warming? For that, they have, let's say, set up or taken some kind of goals. What goals? Number one, right? Number one of this goal is not let the global warming go beyond 1.5 degrees centigrade as compared to pre-industrial level, right? By the end of 2100, by the end of this century. If it is not possible in that case, anyhow, right, we will make it sure that the global warming does not go beyond 2 degrees centigrade as compared to pre-industrial level by the end of 2100, by the end of this century. So when we talk about pre-industrial level, we mean the year of 1850s, right? We mean the era of 1850s, means like when the industrialization was just started happening. Okay, so global goal on adaptation was a very important, let's say, target, was a very ambitious target under the Paris Agreement, and still a lot of people are talking about Paris Agreement because it was agreed upon by all the member countries of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change that time. So according to the global goal on adaptation, they have discussed that, like, all the countries will have their own intended nationally determined contributions. In India also, we adopt intended nationally determined contributions. What are these INDCs? These are basically those targets that we set for ourselves, that we want to reduce the emission of greenhouse gases. We want to, let's say, like, go for alternative sources of energy. We want to develop our renewable energy capacity. We want to install nuclear power stations, nuclear power plants. And why we want to do so? So that, like, our, let's say, our activities for our economy does not impact the, let's say, atmosphere. It does not cause global warming much, because India is the largest, let's say, like, India has the largest population in the world, right? Apart from this, it is the biggest democracy in the world. It is the 5th largest economy in the world. So India does understand its responsibilities, right? Because it wants to be a global leader in this case also. Okay, India wants to be a global leader. So that's why the intended nationally determined contributions are set every year in the beginning, and we try to achieve those goals. And this Paris Agreement has also talked about a very important thing, which is known as Global Stocktake Report. Okay, it has talked about Global Stocktake Report. So what is this Global Stocktake Report? Basically, Global Stocktake Report, in short, it is also known as GST, which is different from the goods and services tax that we have in India. So that is a tax, but like this Global Stocktake Report is a report which is about, let's say, actions taken by different countries related to, let's say, like, related to mitigating the global, let's say, mitigating the climate change related impact. So it is towards global goal on adaptation. So Global Stocktake Report, it was envisaged in 2015 that every 5 years these countries will come up with Global Stocktake Report. But in 2020, we were facing the COVID-19 pandemic. So we were, let's say, like, the entire world was, let's say, like, in a kind of, let's say, turmoil, in a kind of, let's say, flux, what to do now. So that's why the Global Stocktake Report was not released. But the thing is, the Conference of Party that has happened recently, the Conference of Party 28 that has happened in Dubai, right? It has happened where? It has happened in Dubai, which is located in United Arab Emirates. So in the Conference of Party 28 to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, in short UNFCCC, these countries, let's say, like, they have come up with some important outcomes. Okay, what were the important outcomes of this Conference of Parties 28 that has happened in Dubai? I'm just going to write down quickly about these outcomes so that all those people who were not able to follow it so far, they will be able to understand this. The Conference of Party that has happened, they have first of all come up with something which is known as Dubai Consensus. Okay, they have come up with a document which is known as Dubai Consensus. It's a kind of agreement which is similar to Paris Agreement that has happened earlier. But this is not so much ambitious as that of Paris Agreement. So Dubai Consensus was the final document that was reached upon by these countries. Then they have operationalized loss and damage fund. What they have done? They have operationalized loss and damage fund, and they have infused $490 million into this fund. Apart from this, apart from the loss and damage fund that they have operationalized, in the, let's say, like, over here, as we discussed in the Conference of Party 28, here they have also released, they have come up with first ever Global Stocktake Report. Okay, they have come up with first ever Global Stocktake Report. And then they have also talked about a very important thing, that all these countries in Dubai, they have, let's say, acknowledged the role of fossil fuel in causing global warming, in causing pollution in the environment. So they have, let's say, attributed that global warming happens because of release of fossil fuel. And now, since fossil fuel is the main culprit, so these countries have decided to transition away. They have used an important keyword which is known as transition away. Okay, transition away means they did not use the keyword of phase down or, let's say, like, completely remove. So they have said, like, we need to transition away slowly and gradually. We need to adopt different kind of, let's say, like, different kind of alternative energy sources so that we can transition away from the fossil fuels. Okay, and in this regard, India has very much ambitious target, okay, related to renewable energy capacity, related to, let's say, usage of nuclear fuels, right, for generation of power. So a lot of things are there as part of it. So basically in this article, they have talked about that global goal on adaptation, the global goal on adaptation was a goal that was set by different countries in Paris Agreement. So here the author says that implementing global goal on adaptation needs more urgency in terms of treating adaptation on part with mitigation. Okay, in terms of treating adaptation at par with mitigation. Now we need to understand the difference of adaptation and mitigation. Okay, so we need to just quickly understand about the difference between adaptation and mitigation, right? So these are two important keywords that are used. Adaptation means some changes is already happening, global warming is already happening. How do we adapt ourselves to the changing thing? Means like how do we make ourselves more resilient, that already global warming is changing, already global warming is happening, we cannot do anything about it, but what we can do is like we need to be more resilient to it so that we can withstand the changing climate. That is known as adaptation. When we talk about mitigation, mitigation means taking some steps so that like we can reduce the, let's say like global warming that is happening, so that like we can address the core cause of it. Okay, so these are two different things. Adaptation means you are not doing anything about that thing, you are just, let's say, adapting to the changing thing, you are making yourself more resilient, you are developing your capacity so that you can withstand some changes in the climate change. In case of mitigation, what you are doing, you are actually trying to reduce, let's say like the actual cause, that is actual thing that is causing the greenhouse gas, that is causing the global warming. Okay, so this is the thing. So here the author says implementing global goal on adaptation needs more urgency in terms of treating adaptation on a par with mitigation in the face of extreme climate events. Okay, this is the thing. So with this, now let us move to another important article. It says stabilizing trade ties yet hurdles ahead. Okay, so this is a topic from international relations. We are going to be quick in understanding this article because let's say like this article is based on a very short topic. Okay, it is based on a very short topic. We are going to discuss about it, stabilizing trade ties. Stabilizing trade ties, yet hurdles ahead. Yet hurdles ahead. So to understand this particular topic, we need to understand that like why this topic is being read. What is the relevance of this topic? What is the relevance of this topic? So this topic is related to international relations. So we are going to talk about, let's say, relations between three important countries. One country, let's say like the main country that let's say like we are seeing it from India's point of view, because let's say we are based in India. However, in this article they did not discuss much about India, but on one side they have talked about the United States of America, they have talked about China, and they have talked about Taiwan. Okay, they have talked about Taiwan. Now, if you understand the, let's say, location of these countries, if you understand like where these countries are located, you will be able to understand, let's say, like the relation between them well. Okay, so these are the countries that we are going to discuss. Here what happens, let's say India is a close ally or it's a close friend of USA, right, in terms of military thing, in terms of geopolitics and all. India is very close to China in terms of geography, means like we share boundary with China, but the thing is like we do have some problems with China also. What kind of problems we have? Basically China tries to capture our own territory. Recently one of its ministry has released a map, and in that map they have claimed, let's say, Arunachal Pradesh, right, as their own territory. However, Arunachal Pradesh is an integral part of India. It is within the boundary of India and Indian citizens are residing there, Indian armed forces are protecting the boundary, but China has released a map showcasing that it belongs to them. But this is not true. Okay, So with India, we do have, like with China, India has border disputes. This is the thing. Apart from this, if we talk about Taiwan, Taiwan is a small territory. Let's say it's a small territory which is to the south of China. Taiwan says that it is an autonomous, let's say it is an independent country. It says it's a sovereign country. But the thing is, China does not recognize Taiwan as a sovereign country. China says Taiwan belongs to us. China says that Taiwan is an integral territory of China. Okay. But the thing is, Taiwan has been recognized by some countries in the world, around 8 to 10 countries in the world have recognized Taiwan as a sovereign territory. However, Taiwan does not have a membership of the United Nations organization. All right. And China has a policy which is known as One China policy. Okay. It is known as One China policy. So as per One China policy, China says that China and Taiwan should be treated equally by other countries. Means all those countries that want to have relation with China, right? They should treat Taiwan to be part of China. Okay, they should not treat Taiwan to be a separate country. If they treat it, so they are violating the One China policy. One China policy recognizes Taiwan to be its own part. That is the thing. But now what has happened? The United States of America, here the US president, okay, US president, what is the name of the US president? Joe Biden has recently met with Xi Jinping, the let's say like premier or president of China, okay. So he has met with Chinese president in one of the summit that has happened in USA. So after they met, they tried to normalize their relationship. Already the relationship between USA and China is very much strained. Why the relationship is strained? Because USA is a democratic country. China is a communist country. Okay. So China is a communist country. So communism is a special form of socialism. Okay. It's a kind of a specific form of socialism. So the structure within their country, within their economy is entirely different. Here the economy is capitalist. Here they have an economy which is mostly driven by the state. Okay, and the thing is, China is growing at a very fast rate, and since China is growing at a very fast rate, US sees China to be one of its competitors. So that's why USA is little bit suspicious or worried about the rise of China. So the thing is, they already have a kind of a strained relationship. But what is going to happen in USA? USA is going to go for a presidential election very soon. It is going to go through a presidential election very soon. And if we talk about China, in China also an election is going to happen. Okay, in China also an election is going to happen. Okay, since election is going to happen, so the thing is, the person who is fighting from Taiwan, there are two persons. One person who has pro-China policy, another person who has anti-China policy. Anti-China means that person asserts the sovereignty of Taiwan. So that person is not being supported by China, but like that person is being supported by the Taiwanese people in Taiwan, right? So that's the thing. So in this article, basically, they have talked about that although there was a meeting between USA and China recently, but the thing is, let's say like, you know, since USA is undergoing through a presidential election, and generally in presidential election, a candidate wins who takes, let's say, anti-China stand. Okay, that's the thing. In case of Taiwan, similar is the case. So despite the fact that they tried to come closer, the election season is going to make the matter worse. Okay, that's the thing. So in this article, they have discussed that, like, you know, since election is going to happen over here, China has, let's say, like, you know, USA has done something, China has retaliated by generally, let's say, curbing, let's say, the export of some of the rare earth elements. Some of the rare earth element means those elements that are used in manufacturing some semiconductors, some electronic chips, on the basis of which, let's say, Taiwanese economy depend. And in case of USA, USA has blocked the export of some, let's say, technological components that are useful for development of artificial intelligence systems. So the thing is, like, you know, these countries are not directly in a state of war with one another, but they are taking one or other economic measures, economic activity that can actually impact, let's say, the growth of the other country. Okay, so that's the thing. So One China policy recognizes this particular thing. And with when we talk about India, India India has a strained relationship with China, but since it is an immediate neighbor, we are involved in trade activities also with China. With the USA, we have a good relationship. With Taiwan, we maintain a good relationship, trade related relationship. Okay, that's the thing. So in this article, basically they have said that the US and China have managed to stop the free fall in their relationship. But the election in Taiwan and in USA pose new challenges. Okay, this is what is discussed in this article. So having understood that article, now let us move to a very important article. It is related to economy. This article is really important. It's a good article. We are going to discuss about it. It says debt debate. Okay, it's a very short article, but we are going to discuss about this. It's debt debate. Let's discuss about that debate. What is this debt debate? So basically what has happened when we talk about India as an economy, right? India as an economy. So India, let's say, borrows money from outside also, okay? Borrows money. What India does, number one, the country has borrowed from outside, okay? It has borrowed from outside. And this borrowed money is seen as a percentage of GDP of the country. Means like what percentage of total GDP of the country they are borrowing. So the thing is, in this article they have mentioned about those percentages also. They have mentioned that the combined debt on central and state governments stood at 81% of GDP in 2022-23. Okay, so number one, in this article they have said that the combined debt, right, combined debt on central and state governments, right, and state governments in India stood at 81%, right, 81% of GDP of India, which is a very high amount, And the thing is, if we talk about similar picture in the year of 2020-21, right, in the year of 2020-21, it was 88%. It was 88% in 2020-21. So the thing is, it has reduced, it has gone down. And recently what has happened, the International Monetary Fund has recently said, right, International Monetary Fund has recently said that this could even go down to 70%. Okay, this could, the IMF has projected that this could even go down to 70% by 2027-28. Okay, by 2027-28. This is the thing. Okay, this can go down by 2027-28, like that. But recently what has happened, since IMF has published okay, so since IMF has published a report, right, related to India's debt status, so India has, let's say, clarified the government position. What India has done, India has clarified its position, right, its position related to, right, related to what? We are going to discuss about that. India has clarified its position related to this particular thing, which is the IMF's Article 4 consultation with India. Okay, it is IMF's Article 4 consultation with India. So basically, International Monetary Fund has released in its one of the report that like India's debt, like external debt, is going up but India has clarified this particular thing that like, it is kind of consultation that is happening. India is not going under any kind of balance of payment crisis or any kind of debt crisis as of now. Okay, that's the thing. So this article is good. It talks about this, let's say like, what percentage of total, let's say GDP have been borrowed from outside. Okay, this is the thing. So now with this, let us now talk about another important article. It says carry on doctor. So here what happens, let's say in this article, basically they have discussed about whether, let's say whenever a doctor is treating a patient, right? In that case, if the patient dies, so will it amount to murder? Will it amount to culpable homicide? If it amounts to it, what will be the punishment for doctors? Okay. Earlier, let's say in our criminal laws, in our criminal jurisdiction, earlier, let's say it was discussed, it was widely deliberated that like, in case of negligence by a doctor in his profession while treating a patient, in case if the patient dies, so the doctor may have, let's say like, imprisonment sentence of up to 7 years. But the thing is, let's say Indian Medical Association has let's say coordinated, it has discussed, deliberated with the Ministry of Home Affairs, it has got it reduced to 5 years, but now the final draft that has been released by the government of India, the final, let's say like, criminal law bills that have been introduced in the parliament, it has a mention of 2 years imprisonment by the doctors if in case there is a gross negligence on the part of the doctor that leads to let's say dying of a patient. Okay, that leads to dying of a patient. So in this article they have mentioned that doctors must not fear prosecution unless gross negligence is proven. Okay, so basically the if we talk about the profession of doctors are dealing with patients all the time. Many a times what happens, a patient who is in a critical condition, right, when he arrives in a hospital, because doctors fear that like, during treating this patient might die, so they many a times because of their own fear, they do not, let's say, treat those patients. They refer that patient to another hospital. It has happened many a times in India, and many families of the patients might have witnessed it also. Why? Because let's say doctors have a hidden fear that the thing is, the moment they start treating the patient, it may be possible that the patient may die. But the thing is, like, the profession of doctors is to deal with patients, is to treat the patient no matter at what condition that the patient is. There can be a situation that the patients may die. So that's why in many cases in hospitals, the doctors take prior consent of the family members of the patient before treating, that in case of casualty, the family members give their, let's say, consent to the doctor to treat the patient. Okay, so in that case the doctors will not be liable. So the thing is, here we are talking about a concept which is known as gross negligence. So if there is gross negligence by the doctor in treating a patient, and if it is proven completely, so the thing is, in that case, if a patient dies, the doctor may have to go under imprisonment for 2 years. Okay, so that is the settled law that has been discussed in this article. Okay, so it is, let's say, like, it is a kind of let's say, like, finalizing criminal liability, right, in case, let's say, there is a kind of gross negligence on the part of the physicians, on the part of the doctors in treating patients. Now at last we have another article. It says Egypt floats ambitious plan to end Israel-Hamas war. As we discussed earlier also through mapping, right? We discussed earlier through mapping. So let's quickly understand about it. This is a kind of good news, I would say. This is a kind of, let's say, like, world is undergoing through a different phases of warfare at different places. So now what Egypt has done, Egypt floats ambitious plan. Okay, Egypt floats ambitious plans, right, to end Israel-Hamas war. To end Israel-Hamas Hamas war. Okay, to end Israel-Hamas war. So let's quickly understand about this topic. To understand this topic, let me draw a short map of Israel. Okay, so this is the map of Israel. Over here we have a territory. This territory is known as Gaza Strip. Okay, this is known as Gaza Strip. So in Gaza Strip resides, let's say, a kind of people, they are known as Palestinians. Okay, they are known as Palestinians reside. And this is a territory which is of Israel. Okay, this is Israel. Then over here there is a place which is known as West Bank. Okay, this is West Bank. So in West Bank also, who reside? Palestinians. Okay, Palestinians reside, or Palestine people reside. Then to the, let's say, like to this portion of Israel, here there is a country which is known as Egypt. Then here we have a country which is known as Lebanon. To the west of this we have Mediterranean Sea. Okay, we have Mediterranean Sea. Over here we have Syria. Sorry, we have Jordan. We have Lebanon. And we have Syria. So these are the countries, let's say, like that surround Israel. And to the south of Israel, over here we have Gulf of Aqaba. Okay, we have Gulf of Aqaba. This is the thing. Now, Egypt shares border with Israel, right? So, since a warfare is happening between Israel and Palestinians, and Israelis are, let's say, like attacking on the Gaza Strip, especially on the southern portion of Gaza. So different countries around the world were asking Israel to come to a ceasefire, come to an agreement to go for ceasefire. But the thing is, let's say Israel is recklessly attacking and many Palestinian people have died, especially children and women have died. So now what Egypt has done, Egypt has come up with a plan to end Israel-Hamas war. Egypt has recently declared, it has recently said that we do have a plan and we are willing to discuss this particular plan with the leadership from Israel and with the leadership from Hamas, okay, so that a ceasefire can be brought and a enduring peace can be brought in this particular region. So you need to read this article, although the plan details has not been mentioned in this article, okay. So Israel's war cabinet, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, will meet later on Monday to discuss the hostage situation among other topics, an Israeli official said. So basically it is a kind of ongoing effort from the Egypt side. Then we have another topic. It says Russia says it has seized the town of Marianka in eastern Ukraine. So today we discussed in the beginning of the, let's say, like, newspaper discussion, a place which is Marianka. This Marianka, I mean, this place has been seized. It has been taken control of by the Russian military, by Russia. Okay, so they have recently said that like we have taken control of this territory. Earlier this territory was part of Ukraine. Okay, this is the thing. So Russia took over town of Marianka in eastern Ukraine, which President Vladimir Putin hailed as success that would mean less shelling on the nearby Russian-held city of Donetsk. Our assault units have today completely liberated Marianka. Okay, that's the thing. So this is just a news article, so that's why we discussed about places in news. So that will be all from my side for the day. Thank you so much everyone for attending today's session. I hope you have a good day ahead. Thank you.